I blink, and suddenly, I'm stuck on a giant wooden raft in the middle of nowhere. Just ocean as far as the eye can see. Lying there with me are 99 girls from my art history class, plus our gorgeous Professor Elena. And me, I'm the only guy. Talk about a weird field trip.
While I'm still processing this, a massive, cold voice booms in everyone's heads. Welcome to the Raft survival world.
The voice explains that every group starts with just a tiny patch of wood, barely the size of a classroom, as their foundation. One captain per raft, total authority. But here's the catch. If the captain dies, the whole ship goes down instantly. No pressure, right?
The goal? Salvage supplies to build it up. And watch out, because once the sun sets, eerie monsters come out to play. New sea areas every month, lethal tsunamis every 7 days. And if you see another ship, kill their captain, and all their loot is yours. Savage.
The rules were absolutely brutal. I was just standing there, completely lost, until I looked around at the others. Somehow, my 99 female classmates weren't even blinking. They weren't scared at all. They were chatting like this was some fun vacation. Then I opened my own status window, and holy hell, I'm the captain. Great! If I kick the bucket, everyone here is coming with me. Before I can panic, Professor Elena steps up to take control. She is 28 years old, looking stunning in a tight white shirt, black skirt, and silk stockings. Seriously, that outfit? Total man killer. Out of place for survival, sure, but she's calm, smart, and the perfect leader for this mess.
Everyone, quiet, she says. We're in this now. No use crying about it. We have to accept reality.
We work together or we die. Anyone who's awakened to talent, report your abilities right now. Turns out, Elena is a SSS-Rank master tactician. She sees hidden prompts and thinks 3 times faster than anyone else. Basically, a human radar. Then there's Lily, curvy, nerdy, and super shy. She timidly raises her hand to speak. I'm an A-rank rune diviner, she whispers. I can check the raft's fortune once a day. Her twin sister Luna, a total tomboy with short hair, just rolls her eyes and draws a dagger. A-rank phantom swordsman, I'm your muscle. From the back, Chloe, the rich, beautiful tsundere, walks up holding a literal glowing egg. S-rank dragon girl, she brags. In 10 days, this hatches into a baby dragon. I can even fuse with it for power. Even Sophie, the cute girl with twin tails who was pulled in mid-shower, raises a foam-covered arm. B-rank bubble blowing, she says. Defensive shields and an hour of underwater breathing. Useful, right? Finally, every single eye on that raft turns toward me, the only man in the group. I take a deep breath and check my stats. My talent? Triple S-rank Titan's body. Pure, raw power. As long as I'm at sea, my constitution increases by 1 every single day. Infinite stacking, no limits. At full power, I could probably punch a god. But wait, there's more. A mechanical voice pings in my brain. Dynasty Reproduction System activated. Wait, what? The system says if I have a child, I can turn any single item into an infinite supply. Talk about a cheat code. 2 insane cheats at once. 1 bottle of water becomes an endless spring. 1 piece of bread becomes an inexhaustible factory. In the middle of the ocean, this isn't just a skill. It's basically godhood. I clear my throat. If we're going to survive, I have to be honest. My talent is called Dynasty Reproduction, I tell them. Basically, if I have a kid with one of you, I can grant us unlimited supplies for anything. Silence. Absolute crushing silence. You could hear a pin drop. Every girl's jaw hit the deck at the same time. Wait, have a baby? To get food? Even for a survival game, that is a wild connection to make. Then the crowd just explodes. Wait, unlimited? Are you serious? No more thirst or hunger? And all we have to do is help the captain have a baby? Oh man, I can see where this is going. Suddenly, 100 pairs of eyes are locked on me. Shocked, shy, and some of those girls look hungry. The vibe changed fast. It was like the whole raft was suddenly filled with pink bubbles and heavy tension. The party girls are already teasing their friends, and even Elena, she's blushing, giving me this look of total disbelief. My heart's racing now. First volunteer for the unlimited water gets a special prize. I joke, but inside, I'm feeling pretty good about this. Of course, the raft is totally bare right now. No walls, no privacy, so nothing crazy is happening just yet.
I flex my captain's authority just to keep them in line, jokingly threatening to feed them to the fish if they don't listen. That got those princesses moving. They grabbed some basic fishing rods and actually started working for once. An hour goes by. Nothing. Not even a nibble. The drop rate is trash. I look at Lily. Hey, use your talent. Give us a fortune reading. Lily turns bright red and pulls out an old-school rune bag, closing her eyes as she reaches inside. What's it gonna be?
She was literally whispering, "Give me a D, just a D. Goddess of Destiny, please let it be a big D." I honestly almost choked on my own spit.
The entire class of girls just lost it, roaring with laughter while throwing out all kinds of wild, wolfish comments. Poor Lily was so embarrassed. She looked like she wanted to dive straight into the ocean, and the only thing that actually calmed the crowd down was Luna pulling out her dagger. Lily finally poured out the runestone, but the second she saw the carving on it, her face went completely ghost white. Doom. The system prompt warned us our luck was absolute trash, and we had to build a cabin immediately to hide from the nightmare coming tonight. Pure terror took over. Every single person started fishing like their lives depended on it, because they actually did. By sunset, we'd barely scraped together over 200 wooden planks. With one command from me, those boards flew into the air and snapped together. Just as the sky turned pitch black, an enclosed cabin, 8 meters long and 5 wide, stood right in the middle of our raft. Everyone, inside, now! Nobody steps foot outside tonight, no matter what! 100 adults crammed into a 40-square-meter room, pressed so tight you couldn't even turn around. The air was thick with the scent of girls and shampoo. I ended up getting forcibly shoved right into the very center of the crowd by Elena and Luna. I had Elena pressed against my left and Lily's softness on my right. I pulled out our only supplies, 10 bottles of water and 30 rolls of compressed bread. We took turns. Each person only got a tiny sip of water and a piece of bread about the size of a fingernail. I held the last bit of bread up to Lily's lips, leaning in close. "Open up," I whispered, teasing her. This little fool just froze, her watery peach blossom eyes looking totally lost and confused. The girls around us started cheering like crazy, though you could definitely hear the jealousy in their voices. Finally, Luna just snatched the bread and shoved it into Lily's mouth to end the drama. Late that night, everyone eventually drifted off, leaning on one another. Then, boom! A massive impact. The raft sank low and shook violently, like we'd just been slapped by some invisible monster from the deep. Pearson's scream shattered the night. The wind howled like a pack of ghosts, and massive waves started slamming against our walls. One terrified girl just dove into my arms, hugging me for dear life while she trembled from head to toe. "Ghosts! There are ghosts out there!" she pointed, and everyone turned to look. Their hearts practically stopped. Peering through the gaps in the wood was a glowing blue eye with a vertical pupil, and it was as big as a basketball. It was rolling around frantically, scanning us like it was looking at a buffet.
Then a giant mouth stretching all the way to its ears appeared, curling into a twisted, bizarre smile. It was like a silent night checkup from hell.
The cabin went dead silent for a few heartbeats. Then everything completely fell apart. Cries and screams filled the air. Elena's beautiful face was pale as a sheet, her nails digging into my skin. Luna stepped in front of her sister, dagger ready. More girls started squeezing toward me in a panic. I honestly felt like I was going to be suffocated by them. I leaned on my Titan's body skill to keep my head clear, staring straight back at that terrifying eye. The rules kept it outside for now, but in 7 days, a tsunami was coming. This flimsy raft was basically just paper. It wouldn't hold. We had to expand, build something massive and wave-resistant. Finally, the next morning, sunlight broke through the dark. The monsters retreated. I stood up and stretched, my bones popping loudly with every move I made. Titan's body was working its magic. My constitution went up by 1. Honestly, I felt like I could knock out a cow with a single punch. I pushed the door open, and everyone stepped out looking like they'd just survived a total disaster. Elena immediately got her university professor vibe back, organizing a meeting to test everyone's skills. Sophie puffed out her cheeks and spat out a human-sized pink bubble. A curious girl poked it, and whoop, she got sucked right in, floating in the air and crying for help. The bubble popped, and she fell on her butt, making everyone laugh. Then it was Chloe's turn, the resident tsundere. She hesitated for the longest time. Eventually, she just had to bite the bullet, sitting down cross-legged and shoving the dragon egg right under her skirt. She wedged it right at the base of her thighs, sitting there stiff as a board. She looked exactly like a mother hen trying to hatch an egg.
After the jokes died down, the crew went back to fishing. By the afternoon, Lily managed to pull a bit of luck.
My rod suddenly went heavy, bending nearly in half. I put my back into it and hauled up a black iron treasure chest.
Inside were 50 wooden planks, 2 pieces of moldy bread, and a blueprint for a basic workbench.
I learned the blueprint on the spot and used our materials to build the workbench immediately.
Just like that, the panel unlocked a campfire, an iron pot, and a water purifier. These were literal lifesavers. But then, reality hit us like a bucket of cold water. We didn't have any iron or plastic, so we couldn't actually build them yet.
An entire afternoon went by, and the whole class only managed to catch 3 tiny fish and 5 packets of biscuits. We were in trouble.
Night falls once again. The hunger in everyone's gut is burning like a literal fire. Our little wooden shack finally got an upgrade, but it's still feeling way too cramped for comfort.
I ended up using some old rags to section off a tiny corner as the official captain's quarters.
Out by the fire, I'm painstakingly dividing our meager food into 100 tiny portions. Everyone gets a sip of water, just one single sip.
You can hear the sound of people swallowing their pride along with the dry air. Everyone's looking pale and desperate. Then, in the dark, someone whispers the dream. If only we had unlimited water.
Boom! 99 pairs of eyes snap right to me. Pure, primal desperation. It was like being surrounded by a pack of hungry wolves waiting for a signal.
The social order was starting to crack right before my eyes. My skin was crawling, honestly. I just stood up, dusted myself off, and tried to act unbothered. "Keep dreaming, guys," I told them. I slipped straight into the captain's cabin and yanked that ragged curtain shut.
Outside, those monsters were scratching their claws against the wood. Screech! I lay there in the dark, eyes wide open, not sleeping, not yet.
I was waiting for the first person to break and come to me. With unlimited supplies in my hands, I wouldn't just be a survivor. I'd be their absolute ruler.
Suddenly, the curtain twitches. A soft, pale hand reaches in, lifting the corner just a bit.
That familiar, sophisticated perfume hit me immediately. In the moonlight, I could see her, Elena. Her face was absolutely bright red as she peeked inside.
Her lip was trembling like crazy. "Silas," she whispered, "can we talk about the supplies? Talk about supplies? Right."
She was basically delivering herself to my doorstep. I didn't even get up. I just reached out, grabbed her shaking wrist, and hauled her in with one hard yank.
She let out this tiny, muffled gasp as she tumbled right into my chest. She was warm, soft, and completely overwhelmed.
The curtain fell shut. In that tiny, cramped space, the only thing you could hear was the frantic thumping of our hearts. Elena completely froze up. I pulled her closer and gave a low laugh. "So, Professor, you're here to talk about supplies?"
"One word from you, and the whole class drinks their fill tomorrow," she stammered. "Silas, please, just let me go first."
She was pleading now, her entire body going weak and soft against me.
"Let you go so everyone can die of thirst tomorrow?" I whispered. "We have to be responsible for the future." That hit home. She closed her eyes and stopped fighting.
My hand slowly traced upward along the hem of her tight white shirt, feeling that impossibly smooth skin underneath. Her whole body shuddered and her breath just stopped. We were just about to hit the point of no return when... Woohoo! A terrifying howl, way worse than the night before, ripped through the air. Then, bam! The whole raft nearly flipped over. Elena got tossed across the room, slamming hard against the wooden wall. That impact snapped her right out of the moment, the mood completely dead. "Silas, I'm sorry. I'm not ready for this," she cried, scrambling out of the room. I just lay there, my face looking dark as coal. "Stupid monsters," I cursed, "ruining my best shot. I'm gonna chop you up and feed you to the sharks sooner or later." Morning number 3. Everyone looked like total zombies with massive dark circles under their eyes as they started to work. Lily, still rubbing the sleep from her eyes, reached into the rune bag for our daily roll. Clack! The stone hit the deck. She looked at it, eyes bugging out, and shouted, "Captain, it's the Big D! We got the Big D Destiny!" The other girls were so drained, they couldn't even manage a pity laugh at her phrasing.
I checked the stats. Extreme Luck Destiny.
Basically, every hook we throw is bringing back a treasure. Stop talking and start fishing. We're burning daylight.
The rest of the morning was absolutely insane. The loot drop rate, literally heaven-defying.
Wood, iron, plastic, and fresh water started piling up in massive heaps. We were even hauling in dozens of massive sea fish weighing 5 caddies each.
Everyone was losing their minds. All that exhaustion just vanished, replaced by pure, wild celebration.
I headed straight for the workbench, using our new materials to craft a proper iron campfire and a massive cooking pot.
I filled it up and tossed in the fresh fish. That savory, mouth-watering aroma filled the entire air instantly. Everyone was staring at that pot like it was a miracle. One bowl of hot fish soup later, and everyone felt that warm, life-saving glow. Just like that, the whole crew was back at 100% health and ready to go. I pulled up the captain's interface and spotted a new line of text. Current area, gloomy wind sea area.
Low resources, double the monsters. Mystery solved. No wonder the last 2 days were a total nightmare.
We've been playing on hell mode. Thank God for Lily's luck today. I showed everyone what we needed to upgrade to a level 2 raft.
Listen up, we gotta ride this luck while it lasts. We're getting this raft to level 2 before the sun goes down.
The crew went into a fishing frenzy like they were on caffeine. Later that afternoon, Elena hesitated for a long time before pulling me into the cabin.
She couldn't even look me in the eye. Her face was burning up. Silas, about last night, I'm really sorry.
I know I'm older than you guys, but I've never actually done that kind of thing before. Can we just take it slow and get to know each other?
I get it, the classic slow and steady play. Whatever, we're all stuck on the same boat anyway. It's not like she can run away.
I gave a little nod and a smirk. I hear you, Elena, but since we're taking things slow, mind if I just take a look at your legs for a second? Her brain basically short-circuited. After a long beat, she finally squeaked out a tiny yes, barely louder than a mosquito's buzz. She perched on the edge of the bed, and man, those legs, perfectly rounded, wrapped in black silk, and looking like a total work of art. I knelt down and rested my hand right on her calf. "You've been on your feet all day," I whispered. "Let me give you a massage to help you relax." My fingertips started kneading gently, right through the fabric of her stockings.
Her whole body gave a little shiver, her breath coming in fast. The temperature in that room skyrocketed, and the tension so thick you could practically wring the water out of it.
Just as my hand was about to slide past her knee, swish! The curtain gets ripped open with zero warning.
Chloe pokes her head in, all business. "Captain, the supplies are ready." She stopped dead. The words just died in her throat. She was staring, like eyes glued to my hand, right on Elena's beautiful silk-wrapped leg. 3 seconds of pure, agonizing silence. I didn't see anything.
"You guys just carry on." Chloe dropped the curtain and bolted in a total panic. Poor Elena looked like she wanted to die of embarrassment. She yanked her leg back and sprinted out of there. I let out a heavy sigh. Walking onto the deck, I gave Chloe's guilty-looking cheek a quick pinch before turning to face the mountain of materials to get this show on the road. Consume 1,800 wooden planks, 150 iron blocks, and 150 plastics. Upgrade the raft. A blinding white light exploded everywhere. That battered old wooden raft started shifting and reorganizing itself like something out of a dream. The whole area expanded by a quarter. Tough black sealant filled every single gap, and solid half-meter-high wooden fences sprouted up all around the perimeter. Talk about a massive boost to our security. Level 2 raft upgrade? Success! And just like that, the World Chat Channel finally unlocked. The girls were cheering and jumping around, totally hyped. I pulled up the World Channel, and holy hell, the thing was absolutely exploding with activity. It was pure chaos in there. Some people were admiring corals in the Rainbow Sea, while others were literally murdering each other for supplies in the River Styx. The big shot leading the pack was some guy named Chad. He'd already pushed his raft all the way to level 4. Then, a total bombshell of a message flooded the screen. To hit level 5 and get a real ship, you need a storm core, and those only drop during the tsunami in 4 days. Here's the kicker. The first 3 captains to upgrade to a real ship get rewarded with epic treasure chests. Epic chests. We're talking purple tier gear and top tier scales, the kind of items that change the whole game. The girls' eyes went red with greed, but then reality hit, and they looked pretty discouraged. I mean, look at our sea area. It's got next to zero resources. How are we supposed to compete with the heavy hitters?
Nearly 100 pairs of eyes turned to me and Elena at once. I just stared at the message on the screen. So what if we're a little behind right now?
As long as I have my unlimited supply cheat, the second we hit level 3 and unlock the trading market, everything changes.
I can trade unlimited clean water for the best materials from every sea area out there. We might be arriving late, but we're going to be the ones striking first.
I kept my eyes locked on that epic chest announcement glowing in the World Channel. Looking at the eager faces of all the girls around me, a crazy ambition caught fire in my heart. That epic chest? I'm definitely taking it.
Night fell, and that solid level 2 raft actually let everyone get some real sleep for once.
Over by the campfire, Elena had finally ditched that tight office suit from earlier and changed into a loose t-shirt. But those incredible legs of hers were still right there, swaying in front of me. She bit her lip, just staring at me with this intense, fixed look.
Silas, a level 3 raft unlocks the market. With your unlimited supplies, we can trade for the best gear before that tsunami hits.
She took a deep, shaky breath, like she was making some kind of earth-shattering decision.
And then she slowly knelt down right in front of me. To make sure everyone survives tonight, I'm giving myself to you, Captain. Please, just be gentle with me.
The words were barely out of her mouth when crack, a deafening sound ripped through the night sky.
Immediately after, a dazzling golden pillar of light shot straight into the clouds. My face went totally dark. Are you kidding me? Ruined again. I yanked back the curtain to look, and the center of all that crazy energy was exactly where Chloe was incubating that egg.
That dragon egg was literally splitting apart. Golden lightning and deep red flames were whipping around in a total frenzy.
Chloe was sitting there on the ground, soaked in sweat and shaking like crazy. She looked like she was in absolute agony.
That egg was draining every single drop of energy from her body. She's gonna be sucked dry, Elena screamed, her face turning pale with shock. Don't you dare touch her, I shouted, eyes glued to the egg. Her talent was sensing the tsunami threat and forcing the egg to evolve.
Stopping her now would ruin everything. I lunged forward in one step, sitting right across from Chloe, and grabbed her hands as tight as I could.
Initiate energy sharing, I yelled, forcing the pure, raw life force of my Titan body into her to keep her going. Time ticked by until the first light of dawn hit the deck. Then, crack! The dragon egg finally shattered into 1,000,000 pieces. A tiny, palm-sized dragon flew out, covered in glowing crimson gold scales, with fire and lightning burning on its tail. It took one quick lap around the exhausted Chloe. The next second, those golden slit pupils locked onto me. It didn't even hesitate. The little guy turned into a literal stream of light, dived straight into my arms, and started rubbing its fuzzy little head against my chin. Too cute. I forced my eyes open, checked my stats, and man, it hurt just to look. My constitution had tanked down to a measly 9 points.
Basically, back to square one in a single night. But then, a flash of gold. A system notification popped up on the panel.
Obtain talent, S-Rank Dragon Knight, linking with the Dragon Baby, massive power boost incoming.
And get this, the Titan energy I injected made me the Dragon Baby's Dragon Dad. Talk about an unexpected promotion. This was a total win. Chloe immediately lunged at me, crying like a literal waterfall. Then the rest of the girls swarmed in, squeezing me so hard I almost saw the light. Guys, chill, give me some air. I'm not that fragile, seriously. After breakfast, I called over Lily, our resident little airhead, to get to work. She reached into the rune bag, blushing hard, and pulled one out. Boom! Extreme luck destiny. Our luck was officially peaking.
The girls went wild, fishing like they'd just been injected with pure adrenaline.
The drop rate was just stupid. Planks, iron, plastic, everything was literally flying onto the deck. By sunset, I made the call. Upgrade to a level 3 raft. One flash of light later, the raft expanded and the market was open. Holographic screens lit up the deck, showing off rare loot from all over the ocean. We're talking skill books, weapons, blueprints, basically everything we needed to survive. But then, total silence, because in this middle of nowhere spot, we were too broke to buy a single thing. Every eye turned to me and Elena. She turned bright red instantly as night fell over us again. Inside the cabin, 99 girls were wide awake. I didn't say a word, just grabbed Elena's hand and led her to my quarters. The curtain dropped. The whole place went dead silent, except for the sound of racing heartbeats. Before long, some muffled sounds drifted out. Lily buried her face under her quilt, trying to ignore it. Luna was clearly annoyed, while Zoe and her besties were whispering like crazy in the dark.
That battle lasted well into the night. Next day at noon, I finally crawled out, checking the system panel.
Conception failed? Seriously? I worked my tail off all night, drained my mana, and got nothing?
Absolutely fuming. I grabbed Elena right as she stepped out.
Right in front of everyone, I dragged her straight back inside and locked the door. Round 2, let's go!
Zoe's jaw literally hit the floor. This time, we didn't stop until the sun went down.
Elena eventually emerged, legs trembling, leaning on the doorframe with a look of pure relief.
I collapsed onto the bed, watching golden notifications flash like crazy. I was shaking with pure hype.
Elena's pregnant with twins. And the reward? 2 chances for infinite item conversion.
Double the win. All that hard work actually paid off. I bolted out and grabbed a bottle of purified water.
Confirm conversion. In a split second, my inventory was sitting on nearly 1 million bottles of water.
Infinite water.
We did it!
The silence lasted a second before the girls erupted in absolute cheers.
Almost 100 girls went wild, swarming me with hugs and kisses. It was total chaos.
With one wave, I piled up hundreds of bottles like a small mountain on the deck.
Everyone was jugging water like their lives depended on it, but I told them, don't just drink, start buying. I posted a deal on the market, 100 bottles for 400 iron blocks, sold out in 3 seconds flat. People out there were desperate. Planks, plastic, refined wood, it was all flooding into my bag.
We even traded for a legendary Midas golden salmon. I had him toss it in a pot for a feast.
One sip of that soup, and I felt a massive surge of heat. Constitution jumped straight to 20.
I felt incredible. That weakness? Gone. I felt like I could take on a whole herd of bulls right now.
With the materials ready, I didn't hesitate. Upgrade to level 4 Raft. The raft grew massively, expanding to the size of a basketball court, with a watchtower and heavy fences. I pointed at the blueprints and rallied the class. Tomorrow, everyone gets a crossbow.
Early on day 3, the little dragon baby woke me up with a big lick to the face.
I hit the market, maxed out my trades, and grabbed every single piece of material for those crossbows. Flashes of light later, 99 gleaming crossbows and thousands of bolts were in the girl's hands.
I pulled Elena close, wrapping my arm around her waist, and made a major announcement to the whole class.
Wait, what? The professor is pregnant? And with twins? The entire crowd froze like statues for a second before the whole place absolutely exploded with noise.
Dozens of girls immediately swarmed Elena, treating her like royalty. They were hovering over her with tea and water, terrified she might so much as trip on a pebble.
But while everyone else was busy geeking out, Sophie managed to fish up something legendary, a skill book radiating a mysterious blue glow.
Charge / excellent rank. The stats were insane. Charge up for 1 minute, then boom, triple the damage in a single burst.
Without even a debate, the whole class voted to let me learn it right then and there. Meanwhile, Zoe scored some green refined iron armor, turning her into a literal human tank.
Night fell over the ocean. We only had 10+ hours left until the tsunami was supposed to hit.
The girls headed off to the makeshift shower room for a quick wash. Listening to them laughing and splashing around behind those thin wooden boards, yeah, my poor nose didn't stand a chance. Massive nosebleed.
Once the showers were done and everyone was settling in, I didn't waste any time. I straight up pulled Elena out from under her blankets. Look, we've got a massive war waiting for us tomorrow, I told her. We need to get some combat training in while we can.
I dragged her into the captain's cabin, keeping a totally serious face while the rest of the girls shouted curses at us from outside. Then, at midnight, whoosh.
Out of nowhere, fierce winds began tearing through the sky. A bone-chilling cold swept over the raft, and the whole thing started shaking like it was about to fall apart.
Thump, thump, thump. Suddenly, countless hands started frantically slapping the bottom of our boat through the gaps in the wood.
The water was crawling with thousands of eerie, glowing green eyes. Then, a system prompt smashed directly into my vision like a physical blow.
A message from Poseidon himself. Turns out, this gloomy wind area is special, and not in a good way. The tsunami? It wasn't coming tomorrow. It was hitting right now.
Kill monsters to shorten the timer. Good luck to you all, TT. My face went completely pale.
This sea god is a total psycho. Seriously, how petty can you get? Everyone, wake up! Battle stations now!
The tsunami is early. I kicked the cabin door open and charged onto the deck, gripping my refined iron longsword tight.
Freezing ocean waves crashed down on us from every direction. Giant 15-foot waves were rolling in, and they were packed with swarms of monsters. We're talking 8-legged octopuses with human faces, twisted pale corpses, and masses of writhing black sludge. It was a nightmare. Right in the center of the biggest wave, a blue crystal was pulsing with demonic light, the storm core. Zoe, get to the front and hold the line.
Luna, you're on cleanup and assassinations. Chloe, get the dragon baby out here.
Zoe suited up in her heavy armor and raised her shield, brickwalling the entire monster horde. Luna vanished, turning into a literal shadow on the deck. Her daggers were a blur, harvesting monster heads left and right. Sophie puffed out her cheeks and started blowing giant bubbles, trapping the flying monsters mid-air. Fire at will! Swish, swish, swish. 99 crossbow bolts rained down like a storm, and the monsters started falling in heaps. Kill notifications started scrolling frantically across my screen, and finally that tsunami countdown began to drop. Suddenly, roar! A giant starfish the size of a small mountain crashed onto the deck. Silas, its weakness is the eye on its belly.
Elena's shout cut through the chaos. I took a deep breath, my blade beginning to glow with a blinding white light. Time for a charged slash.
I squeezed every ounce of power I had, launching myself like a human cannonball. A 30-foot incandescent blade aura tore through the night sky. Die! That meat mountain of a starfish didn't even have time to scream before I cleaved it clean in half.
The giant eye on its belly exploded with a deafening bang. Just like that, the countdown timer skipped ahead by 3 whole minutes.
Keep killing! The entire class was seeing red now, holding the line against the monster's suicidal charges with everything they had. As the final second ticked away, the wind died down instantly. The monstrous waves collapsed, and the remaining creatures retreated back into the deep like a receding tide. The deck was a disaster zone, covered in monster parts and severed limbs. Foul-smelling blood had dyed the entire raft a dark, grisly red. But we did it. We won. That glowing blue storm core slowly drifted through the air and landed right in my hand. I hit the trading market immediately to grab the last few materials we needed. Upgrade to level 5 raft. I roared at the system panel. White light exploded everywhere. The raft began to shift and grow, the wood stretching and elevating in a crazy display of power. In a heartbeat, a real wooden sailing ship sat where our raft used to be. Gang, congratulations to Silas's team, the first in the entire world to complete a ship upgrade. First in the world. The 100 girls stood there in stunned silence for a second. Then the entire ship erupted into hysterical screams of joy. Everyone was hugging, crying, and laughing all at once. Even with a nightmare start, our group managed to leapfrog the entire world to take the #1 spot. At 10 in the morning the next day, the global announcement finally went live for everyone to hear. Congratulations to the Leviathan from the Gloomy Wind Sea area for securing the global first place. Reward, 3 epic treasure chests. The world chat completely lost its mind. People were raging, calling the whole thing rigged. How could a trash tier starting zone like Gloomy Wind get first place? Brad was so pissed he was practically spitting blood. Epic chests? Are you kidding me? I refused to accept this. But the survivors from our area weren't having it, and they started firing back immediately. The tsunami hit us 9 hours early, you losers. Try surviving that. We almost got wiped out. No matter how much the world complained, the record was set. I stared straight at the 3 massive treasure chests glowing with a brilliant purple light. Honestly, I could barely breathe. Lily, time to shine. Touch the runes. She closed her eyes, shaking the bag like crazy. This had to be it, the ultimate S-tier destiny. The rune hit the deck. Pure, extreme luck. Without wasting a second, I flipped open the first chest. Purple light exploded everywhere, and there it was, an ancient-looking parchment. An epic rank fragment of the world sea map. This thing tracks coordinates and routes for all 4 major seas. We're talking about a top-tier, god-level item here. With this, we can finally leave this god-forsaken gloomy wind zone. Now for chest number 2, a skill book. Epic rank, Poseidon's Call. It uses mental power to summon an army of at least 100 deep-sea armored warriors. I checked the stats. It needs 100 points of mental power to trigger. I didn't even hesitate. I handed it straight to Elena. With her SS rank talent tripling her mental stats, she's the perfect fit.
Elena blushed, learned the skill, and waved her hand toward the ocean.
Splash! The water started boiling as over 300 giant, trident-wielding crabs and lobsters surged up, surrounding our ship like a fortress.
Absolute dominance. The girls in class started screaming their heads off with excitement. Time for the final chest. I took one deep breath and practically ripped the lid off. A golden light, even more blinding than the others, shot straight into the clouds. Suddenly, a holographic projection of a dreamlike megaship appeared in midair.
It's a blueprint, the Leviathan luxury voyage ship, epic rank. It even incorporates Da Vinci's mechanical engineering.
A literal maritime fortress that handles attack, defense, and living quarters all in one. But then I saw the upgrade requirements. 100,000 wooden planks, 10,000 iron blocks, and 5 storm cores. Looking at those insane numbers, the deck went dead silent.
Zoe started stuttering, saying we'd be building this until our next lives. But I just looked at her. What's there to be afraid of?
I pointed at the system panel, my eyes burning with pure ambition. Others might take a lifetime, but we have unlimited supplies.
As long as we have the time, this isn't just a dream, it's happening. I drew my refined iron longsword, pointed it toward the horizon, and let out a roar. From today on, I'm building a moving palace on this ocean.
Everyone get ready. We're setting sail and leaving this crappy sea area behind.
The girls were still pale from seeing that requirement of 100,000 planks, but I just laughed and stuffed the blueprint into my bag.
Look, you eat a meal one bite at a time, and you build a ship one piece at a time.
The palace is the long-term goal, but for now, we run. I unrolled that epic world map. Elena, do your thing. Activate the hack.
Elena's eyes flashed as our SS-Rank talent locked onto a target. We're heading for the Rainbow Sea.
The environment there is stable, there's plenty of food, and almost no aggressive monsters. But here's the best part.
The rare material we need for the palace, that rainbow glazed wood, it only grows on special islands in that area.
Good heavens, what are we waiting for? I immediately used my resources to craft a basic ship's wheel and a massive sail. As I gripped the cold wheel with both hands, I felt a literal soul connection to the ship.
In that moment, I finally felt like a true captain. Everyone, hang on tight.
Destination southeast, the Rainbow Sea. Let's move. Fierce winds slammed into the sails.
The Leviathan rode the waves, finally saying goodbye to this hellish starting village and its miserable winds.
The Tier 2 power core started humming like crazy, and our 150-meter steel beast carved a perfect white trail across the water.
After sailing for a full day and night, we finally crossed the sea barrier. The next morning, everyone was completely floored by what they saw.
That ink-black seawater was gone, completely. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple. The ocean looked like God had tipped over a massive paint palette. It was beautiful.
The air smelled sweet and fresh, and a few dolphins even jumped out of the water like they were welcoming us home.
On the deck, the 99 girls were leaning over the railings, chatting and laughing like a sorority house on spring break.
Captain, I'm here. Lily jogged over, clutching her rune bag. She wanted to draw some peerless good fortune for our first day in the new sea.
She closed her eyes, muttering to herself, and after a few shakes, a runestone glowing with a soft pink light fell out.
The second she saw the engraving, her entire face turned bright red. She tried to hide it behind her back, but it was too late.
Luna was way too fast. She snatched it and read it out loud. It's a great fortune rune.
A blessing from Venus, the goddess of love. The engraving says, a spring breeze kisses the blooming rose, and the dream night arrives under the moonlight.
Auspicious for confessions and holding hands. Inauspicious for being emo and alone. The 100 girls there immediately erupted into laughter.
Lily's catching those romance vibes. A dream night? Come on, that's basically reciting our captain's social security number at this point.
Poor Lily. She was so embarrassed her eyes flushed red, and honestly, she looked like she was about to burst into tears from pure anxiety. I stepped in, snatched the rune right out of Luna's hand, and gave Lily's soft, squishy cheek a playful little pinch.
You're way too timid, I teased. How are you going to be the chief prophet like that? Come on, let's head to the observation tower for some courage training.
I grabbed her wrist and, ignoring the teasing from the other girls, dragged her straight up to the second floor.
The sea breeze was gentle. Lily just looked down, her fingers nervously twisting the hem of her prep school uniform.
In those white silk thigh eyes, her legs were shaking so hard you'd think they had little motors installed in them.
Scared of heights, I whispered, stepping up behind her. I rested my hands on her shoulders, my warm breath brushing right against her ear.
Chest out, head up, back straight. She tensed up instantly. Her heart was pounding so fast, it felt like it might literally jump out of her throat.
So, why are your legs still shaking?
I looked down, staring right at her silk-wrapped calves, and pretended like I was about to squat. What's wrong? Legs numb from standing too long?
Here, let me massage them for you. Lily panicked. Captain? Things were on a knife's edge. One spark and the whole place would blow. Then someone yelled, "Captain, look!"
A total voice-cracking scream from Chloe downstairs killed my focus and ruined my spell. An island? Right ahead? I let Lily go and sprinted to the railing.
Right where the ocean met the sky, this massive, lush green island just appeared. And check this out, a giant permanent rainbow was hanging right over it.
I double-checked the map. Rainbow Island. This place is famous for having a ton of rainbow-glazed wood. Super rare stuff.
My sensors picked up weird energy pulsing from the center. Talk about luck. We'd been searching everywhere, and we just stumbled right onto it.
Full speed ahead, destination Rainbow Island. Our warship cut through the waves, closing the gap fast.
Elena waved her hand, sending 300 deep-sea carapace soldiers diving underwater to scout. Once they confirmed the coast was clear, I started barking orders.
Zoe, Luna, Chloe, Sophie, you're with me. Advance team, move out. We're landing on that beach.
The 5 of us hopped into a small boat and hit the soft sand. The rainforest was wild. Exotic flowers and herbs were literally glowing in the shadows. As we pushed through the brush, these transparent, jelly-like slimes hopped out. One actually had a literal question mark pop up over its head. Totally harmless, just a bunch of low-level mobs that were honestly way too cute to be a threat. We all relaxed a little too much. Big mistake. Suddenly, a woman's desperate cry for help ripped through the trees from the left.
I shoved the bushes aside, and it was bad. Next to a smashed raft lay a woman with her stomach torn wide open. There was blood everywhere.
She clawed at the dirt, using the last of her strength to scream at us. Don't eat the fruit here!
The gourmand, it will find you. Before she could say another word, she was gone. My heart stopped. The gourmand, that sounded like bad news.
The next second, everything went sideways. Whoosh! A black shadow, moving so fast it was a total blur, shot out of the trees, diving straight for the dragon baby in Chloe's arms.
Watch out! I didn't even have time to think.
My 21 points of constitution kicked in instantly. Like a pro football tackle, I slammed into Chloe and pinned her safely to the dirt.
Screech! The sound of air being sliced whistled right past my scalp. I'm not kidding. It actually took some of my hair with it.
The shadow landed. It was a massive black mantis, way bigger than any human.
Its scythe-like arms gleamed with a deadly cold light. Those giant eyes, they were locked onto the dragon baby and wouldn't move.
The thing was literally swallowing its own spit. It didn't see a pet. It saw the dragon baby as a 5-star top-tier meal.
A gourmand mantis elite monster just appeared. Its level? Total mystery. Nothing but question marks. Shields up, everyone. Protect Chloe. I let out a massive roar to draw its attention.
Zoe bellowed a battle cry and slammed her heavy iron tower shield into the dirt. Meanwhile, Luna vanished instantly, melting right into the shadows of the nearby trees. You even think about touching my dragon baby, and I'll use your blood to bless my blade. I launched myself off the ground and charged straight into the fray. This mantis didn't waste time with words. It just lunged forward, swinging its massive blade head down with lethal force.
Then, clang! The sound of metal on metal was deafening. I firmly blocked that scythe, and the sheer force of the impact literally cracked the ground beneath my feet.
Your strength isn't all that, I growled, veins bulging in my arms. I forcefully shoved its scythe back and used the momentum to slash across its body. My blade's edge scraped against its pitch-black shell, sending a shower of sparks flying and leaving a jagged white mark behind. Defense broken, and that's when the mantis went absolutely berserk. Those twin scythes became a terrifying blur, cutting off every single path for retreat. I was forced back, step by step. Its speed was just on another level.
3 steps to the left. There's a 0.3-second opening at the joint. Elena's calm, analytical voice suddenly cut through the chaos over my communicator. I didn't even think. I just instinctively moved 3 paces left and drove my blade deep into that arm joint with everything I had.
Gross green fluid sprayed everywhere. Suddenly, Luna leaped up from its back like a ghost, driving her twin dagger straight into the back of its neck.
Then, chaos! Those wings on the mantis's back started vibrating with a violent hum, triggering a shockwave that was absolutely terrifying.
Luna didn't stand a chance. She was tossed aside like a broken doll, slamming into a tree and coughing up blood. It looked bad, real bad.
Just like that, our entire formation fell apart.
The mantis took to the air, trying to fly right past the tower shield. Its goal, to eat our little dragon baby alive. But just when things looked hopeless, bam! A massive pink bubble dropped from the sky, trapping that mantis perfectly. Sophie was giving it her all, her face turning bright red as she locked the monster down. The mantis went berserk inside, but it just kept bouncing off those slippery bubble walls.
Time to finish this. Chloe, burn it! Dragon baby, let him have it! Our little guy opened his mouth and unleashed a torrent of crimson gold dragon fire, turning that bubble into a high-temp oven. The mantis's screams were bone-chilling.
Slash!
Elena gave the word. It was time for the final judgment. I gripped my blade with both hands, charging up a triple damage slash until the power was literally overflowing.
I moved so fast I was nothing but a blur.
Soaring into the air and slicing right through the darkness. Green blood and monster guts exploded everywhere. The giant mantis didn't even have a chance. I cleaved it in 2 from head to toe. Ding! First elite monster kill in the bag. Constitution up.
And the loot? Unreal. We got the Reaper Mantis Scythe and a beautiful blue treasure chest. Talk about a jackpot drop.
I stashed the loot and immediately rushed the heavily injured Luna back to the ship.
Once we were on board, the 99 girls couldn't take their eyes off that blue chest. I pulled over Lily, who was still a bit teary-eyed, and pressed her small hand onto the lid.
Let's borrow a little of your Venus blessing for this. Click. A brilliant blue light flooded the deck.
3 top-tier items. First up, a skill book called Weakness Insight. It actually lets me see an enemy's hidden weak points.
I learned it on the spot. Next was a blueprint for a Tier 2 arsenal to unlock better gear. And finally, Life Essence.
This stuff heals instantly. I gently opened Luna's mouth and let the essence drip inside. Within seconds, her bones literally popped back into place and she sat up at full health. The girls were stunned. It was a straight-up miracle.
As night fell, campfires flickered on the deck while the girls enjoyed some fish soup. I headed to the stern just to catch the breeze and clear my head.
Elena brought me some soup and gave me the update. She'd already deployed the Deep-Sea Carapace Legion for 24/7 patrols.
After finishing my meal, I walked over to Lily and knelt down. I noticed her palm got scratched during the chaos today. I pulled some iodine from the kit, carefully cleaned the wound, and wrapped it in a Band-Aid.
As a reward, I'll take you back to the tower to see the view tomorrow, I whispered. Her face turned so red, I thought she might actually start bleeding.
Early the next morning, I headed to the deck and cut Lily feeding the fish.
Without saying a word, I dragged her up to the observation tower. I leaned in close from behind, my warm breath hitting her neck. I decided to test out my new skill, Weakness Insight. Immediately, golden text started floating above her head.
Check this out. Extremely nervous. Adoration level, maxed. Weakness, 0 resistance to the captain's touch. And she loves head packs. Wait, for real? I almost laughed out loud. This skill is basically a god-tier cheat code for romance. I reached out and gently ruffled her soft black hair.
You were really brave out there, Lily.
She went completely weak in the knees, falling for it hook, line, and sinker. She barely stayed upright by grabbing the railing. Then my eyes caught something.
Way out on Rainbow Island, a thin wisp of gray-blue smoke was rising. We weren't alone. There were people on that island.
I gathered all 100 girls immediately. We needed to land, but our tattered wooden armor wouldn't last a second against elite monsters.
I pointed right at that Tier 2 arsenal blueprint.
We need to upgrade everyone's gear, but we're short by over 300 iron blocks. Zoe looked worried, but I just smirked and pulled out a dark iron block.
Did everyone forget? Thanks to Elena and our 2 babies on the way.
We still have 1 infinite conversion opportunity left. The deck went silent for a heartbeat, then erupted into cheers that practically shook the ship.
Captain is the GOAT. Long live the professor. Without hesitating, I made my move. Target, iron blocks. A blinding golden light exploded. And suddenly, my backpack had a literally infinite supply of iron.
Infinite iron? Seriously, this is the ultimate resource. All right, girls, start working. It's time to swap our pea shooters for real cannons.
We upgraded to the Tier 2 arsenal instantly. The assembly line was running at full throttle.
Iron crossbows, longswords, and heavy armor were flying off the line. My 5-person landing team was now decked out in full green tier godly gear.
Zoe looked like a Spartan Valkyrie with that refined iron tower shield on her back.
Luna was dual-wielding iron short blades, looking absolutely deadly. As for the 95 girls staying behind, every single one of them was now armed with an iron crossbow. Let's do this.
Armed to the teeth and ready for war. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the 5 of us set foot on that island once again. We barely stepped into the rainforest before a mantis lunged at Sophie. Luna went invisible to block it, and Zoe smashed the thing into a tree with her shield.
Chloe, Sophie, and I didn't waste a second, firing a volley from our hand crossbows that pinned its carcass straight to the trunk.
Absolute suppression. When your stats and gear are this high, even the most tense situations end in an instant kill.
We pushed through the pitch-black woods for 30 minutes until a rough wooden camp finally came into view up ahead.
7 or 8 starving barbarians were huddled around a fire. Right in the center sat Boris, the massive, scarred Russian pirate boss himself.
He took one look at the 5 of us, and I swear his eyes nearly popped out of his skull.
High-end metal armor, razor-sharp swords, and 5 stunning beauties. Boris greedily licked his lips, hefting a stone axe, and let out an arrogant roar.
You've got some nerve walking into my territory. Brothers, strip that armor off them, now!
These chicks look juicy. The trash talk was endless and disgusting. I didn't even bother laughing. I just spat out 3 simple words.
Beat him to death. Luna vanished instantly. A heartbeat later, she reappeared behind a skinny guy like a literal ghost.
A cold flash of steel. His windpipe was sliced wide open. Blood sprayed everywhere. Total instant kill.
Seeing his man drop, Boris charged in with the rest of his crew. Are you guys trying to tickle me? Zoe laughed, her Hercules talent exploding.
Her heavy iron shield slammed forward like a falling wall. 2 loud bangs followed as their chests caved in, killing them both on the spot.
Chloe and Sophie raised their hand crossbows and started sniping with cold precision. Every single bolt found its mark.
30 seconds. That's all it took for the ground to be covered in bodies. Boris went wild, swinging his massive stone axe directly at my head.
Way too slow. With my 24 points in Constitution, everything looked like it was moving in slow motion.
I raised my iron longsword with just one hand. Clang! The impact sounded like a massive explosion.
The skin between Boris's thumb and finger literally blew apart. That stone axe he was so proud of shattered into 2 pieces by my blade.
I pressed the cold tip of my sword against his throat. Looking at his terrified, sweating face, I couldn't help but sneer. This island belongs to me now. You got any objections?
Boris collapsed to his knees, frantically making the sign of the cross over his chest while begging for mercy.
I tapped his face with my sword, demanding intel. The guy started talking immediately, spilling everything like beans from a jar. Deep inside the island lived a terrifying giant spider king, guarding a forest that glowed with 7-colored light.
Mission accomplished. I pulled my sword back and turned to walk away. Boris looked relieved for a split second until I spoke without even turning around. Luna, leave no survivors. A black shadow moved.
After a few desperate screams, the camp went dead silent. Only a river of blood remained. The weak are just prey for the strong.
That's the iron rule of this survival world. I walked to the mantis corpse and triggered my Titan body's devour trait.
A wave of heat surged through me. My stamina instantly hit its peak. I kicked a mangled corpse out of my way.
Gazing toward the forbidden zone deep in the rainforest, where that faint rainbow glow illuminated the sky. My eyes were filled with pure ambition. Tell Elena to bring tents over. We're setting up camp here tonight. Tomorrow, I'm taking you all to slaughter a boss for fun. Night fell, and the glowing plants turned the island into a neon dreamscape.
We got the campfire going, and the girls started stewing some fresh fish soup.
To survive here, you can't afford to be soft. Elena sat beside me, her long legs looking incredible in the firelight. On the other side of the fire, the girls were cheering and teasing Lily, telling her to touch the runes.
The poor girl was so shy, she didn't know what to do. I walked over, picked a glowing blue flower, and tucked it into her hand.
Our fingers brushed, and she trembled all over. Consider this your reward for today.
I leaned in close to her ear, lowering my voice. When we get back to the ship, I've got an even bigger reward. You want it? Lily's face turned so red I thought she might burst. Before she could answer, Elena charged over with the tactical map.
I followed her into the command tent. She pointed at the map, laying out a brilliant strategy to distract and destroy the enemy.
I smiled wickedly and stepped closer, wrapping my arm around her waist.
The plan is perfect, but I'm the main force tomorrow. I'm going to need to replenish some high-level energy tonight.
Elena, you wouldn't want our future kids to start off weak because of malnutrition, right?
Elena's face turned bright red. Her defenses were totally gone. The oil lamp flickered out, leaving only the sound of heavy breathing inside the tent.
Early the next morning, I stepped out into the light, feeling completely refreshed and ready for war.
My constitution just skyrocketed to 27 points. Absolute beast mode. The entire class, all 100 of us, gathered right at the edge of the massive drop-off. Down below, that legendary rainbow-glazed wood was glowing like something out of a dream.
But then we saw it. A massive spider web, at least 100 meters wide, stretched out beneath those gargantuan trees.
And sitting right in the center was a nightmare, a pitch-black spider the size of a freight truck, but with the upper body of a seriously alluring woman. Talk about a deadly combination.
This was the legendary boss, the king of Gormans, Arachne the Spider Queen. Zoe didn't waste a second. She charged to the front and slammed her massive shield into the ground with a deafening thud.
Hey, you ugly freak! Come out and die!
Zoe yelled. The Spider Queen let out a hiss that'll haunt your dreams, and suddenly, hundreds of small spider mobs crawled out from the dirt, swarming towards Zoe like a literal tide.
Now, do it! I barked the order, my voice low and sharp.
Chloe didn't hesitate and unleashed the baby dragon. That crimson gold beast let out a roar, breathing a massive wave of dragon fire that slammed right into the Spider Queen.
Sparks exploded everywhere, but when the smoke cleared, not even a scorch mark. Her carapace was insanely tough. Her magic resistance was just on another level.
Now Arachne was beyond pissed. She went completely berserk, locking her eyes onto Chloe standing right there on the cliffside.
She unhinged her jaw and spat out a glob of thick, disgusting webbing. It missed Chloe, but slammed into the cliff, instantly melting a massive pit into the rock. Pure poison! While she was distracted, Luna turned into a literal shadow, sneaking into the queen's blind spot right under her belly. She stabbed down with both blades, giving it everything she had. Clang! The sound of metal hitting metal was deafening. But it only left a tiny white mark. The recoil was so violent, it sent Luna flying back, pinning her firmly against that massive spiderweb. The Spider Queen raised her razor-sharp legs to finish the job. "You're dead!" I roared. My 27 points of constitution erupted all at once.
I launched off that cliff like a literal cannonball. Mid-air, I triggered the Dragon Knight fusion. Game on!
My iron longsword started glowing with this blinding blue light. Triple damage, charged, slash, ready! I used weakness insight to lock onto the exact spot where her human half met the spider body. Break for me! I swung that sword with enough momentum to tear through reality. Crack! The legs she used to block me just shattered into a million pieces. My blade sank into her vital node without any resistance, piercing straight through. Thick, blackish-green blood sprayed out like a fountain. Gross, right? The Spider Queen let out a soul-piercing scream, twisting in agony. I landed on one knee, gripping the hilt as hard as I could, and activated Titan's Body Devour. It was insane. I could feel boundless energy pouring back into my body, surging up through the blade itself.
Permanent gains. My constitution went up by 15 and spirit by 30. And the best part? I got a legendary skill for free. Spider form.
Boom! Arachne's massive body finally hit the dirt for good. Immediately, the global announcement system went absolutely mental. First kill of a legendary boss. The rewards? An epic treasure chest, a stat-boosting sword for the whole crew, and our ship's durability just doubled. The World Channel went into a total meltdown. This guy Chad was literally on his knees begging to be my lackey, and a ton of other people were dying to defect to my side. Honestly, I was too lazy to even look at the messages. I just reached down and grabbed the Tier 2 Epic Power Core blueprint off the ground. To double our speed, we've got to track down 5 storm cores. Back at the camp, I pulled out that epic treasure chest. Man, it was radiating this intense purple night.
Lily, your turn. Lily turned beet red and took a deep breath. As she dropped the runestone, golden light started flashing wildly in every direction.
Talk about extreme luck! I flipped the chest open in one go, and there it was, a blue dread heart, still beating right in front of us.
The Heart of Titan, an epic tier consumable that can make a ship skip entire levels instantly. This thing is a total game changer.
I looked at the 99 girls, all of them buzzing with excitement, but my gaze stopped on Lily. She was nervously wringing her fingers. I walked over and gently tilted her chin up. Her eyes were wide, totally bewildered. Lily, I whispered, remember that bigger reward I mentioned earlier?
The entire place went dead silent. You could practically see the gossip souls of all the girls burning bright. I stared into her eyes, making sure she heard every single word.
Lily, be my woman. I want you to be the second mistress of this ship. Just like that, tears burst from Lily's eyes. She'd been harboring this secret crush for 3 long years, and now she finally got exactly what she'd been dreaming of. Sobbing, she managed to shout, "I do," before lunging into my arms. I lowered my head and gently kissed the tears away. The sheer wave of happiness was too much for her brain to handle. The poor girl's eyes rolled back and she fainted sweetly right there on the spot. I carried her back to the captain's cabin and laid her on the bed. Seriously, her mental endurance still needs some major training.
The next morning, Lily woke up blushing like crazy. I gathered everyone on the deck, pulled out the Heart of Titan, and slammed it right into the captain's seat console.
Whoosh! A massive wave of blue dread energy instantly washed over the entire ship. The deck started expanding at an insane rate. You could hear the explosive sounds of wood and steel literally snapping and restructuring the ship's entire skeleton. A minute later, the light finally faded. There she was, a 3-story steel Leviathan, 100 meters long and 30 meters wide, just floating there on the water. A level 6 voyage ship, fully equipped with an arsenal, a medical bay, and even its own ecological garden. It wasn't just a ship anymore, it was a moving maritime fortress. From today on, I announced, this is the true Leviathan. But just as everyone started cheering, Sophie screamed from the observation tower.
Captain, we've drifted into a gray sea area, and there's a ship directly ahead of us.
I grabbed the binoculars and squinted. The sea had turned a murky, grayish-white. Right there, blocking our path, a pitch-black warship flying a savage wolf-head flag. Dozens of bloodthirsty pirates were already lining the deck, weapons drawn and ready for a fight. Their leader, Captain Victor, spotted my ship packed with nearly 100 beautiful girls, and his eyes practically started glowing with pure greed.
"Listen up, pretty boy," he barked. "This is the Crimson Graveyard. Hand over the girls and the supplies, and maybe I'll let you live. Welcome to the hunting grounds, I guess."
I popped my weakness insight for a quick look. His ship? A total joke. It was a crumbling level 5 vessel with a hull that was basically rusted through.
Does this guy seriously think he's Poseidon or something? Elena, I called out, is your Carapace Legion feeling hungry?
I didn't even bother looking back. "They're starving," she whispered. Elena waved her hand, and the ocean floor below us began to boil with activity. Hundreds of massive, ghost-like crabs and lobsters erupted from the depths, tearing into that pirate ship's rotten chassis like it was made of paper. Crack! The sound of splintering wood was everywhere. Seawater flooded in, and the pirate ship started sinking fast. Total, absolute panic broke out on their deck. Victor went completely ballistic. "Throw the grappling hooks," he screamed. "Forget our ship. We're taking theirs." Over a dozen pirates swarmed up the ropes onto the Leviathan. Big mistake. What happened next? A total one-sided slaughter. They weren't even in the same league. The second the first pirate popped his head over the railing, Zoe slammed her heavy iron tower shield right onto his skull. Boom! His face was flattened instantly. He went flying back into the sea, straight to the bottom to feed the fish. Luna moved like a literal blur, a black shadow across the deck. One flash of her blade, and the next pirate was done for. Chloe and Sophie commanded the crossbow unit from the back, sniping with lethal precision. Those pirates were falling into the water like dumplings into a boiling pot. "Trash! All of you, move!" Victor roared, completely snapping. He triggered his berserk talent, and things got ugly fast. His muscles ballooned up, pulsing with raw, uncontrolled power. He launched himself off the deck like a literal cannonball, flying across the 12-meter gap straight for my face. He was going for the leader to end this. "Nice jump," I muttered. I casually raised my heavy iron longsword with just one hand. Clang! The impact was deafening. His massive fist slammed into my blade, followed by the sickening crunch of bones shattering and tendons snapping. Talk about a reality check. Victor let out a horrific scream. His arm was mangled, twisted completely out of shape with the white bone actually poking through the skin.
With a quick flick of my wrist, I had my cold steel pressed right against his throat. Game over, Captain.
The battle ended right then and there. The last few pirates jumped overboard, only to be shredded by the hungry crab legion waiting below.
Now Victor was the one kneeling on the deck, shaking like a leaf. "The rules here are simple. Kill the captain, get a storm core." I just stared at him while he desperately kowtowed and begged for mercy. I just sneered. One swing, one head flying into the sky. Victor was officially out of the picture. "One storm core acquired. To most, this place is a graveyard. To me, it's just a fish pond. I'm the apex predator of this sea now."
Later that night, after we cleared the battlefield, I found Chloe sulking in a corner all by herself.
She was still mad that I didn't let her join the fight earlier. Seriously, this girl's battle maniac streak is on another level. I grabbed her by the collar and hauled her straight into the captain's cabin. Door shut, lights out. I pinned her right into the corner.
She hugged herself tight, her breath coming in quick, shallow gasps. "Since you can't follow orders," I whispered in her ear, "you're staying here tonight." My warm breath made her legs go completely soft.
I reached out to brush her blonde hair back. She froze on the spot, her face turning a deep, embarrassed crimson. Things were just getting heated when, beep, a loud, piercing alarm cut through the silence and ruined the mood.
The control panel started flashing a ghostly blue. The Blood Moon Brawl just started. For the next 12 hours, every ship's location is exposed to everyone.
Double storm cores for every kill, plus legendary treasure chests for the top 3 players. Now that's what I'm talking about.
My eyes lit up instantly. Talk about perfect timing. It's like the universe just handed me exactly what I needed. This was my chance to farm those cores. I left a stunned Chloe behind and sprinted out of the cabin to the deck.
Everyone assemble! 5 minutes later, all 99 girls were standing there, fully geared up and ready for war.
Looking at all the exposed red dots on the map, some of the girls looked pretty nervous. After all, the Leviathan is the biggest target out here.
Hide? Why would we ever hide? I drew my longsword and pointed it straight at that blood-red full moon.
"This isn't a threat," I shouted to the crew. "It's a gift. Those cores are ours for the taking. Get ready for battle."
Elena quickly mapped out a route, locking on to the nearest easy target. The Leviathan unfurled its massive sails, charging ahead like a true deep-sea behemoth.
30 minutes later, we spotted a level 4 raft. Those guys were absolutely terrified, trying their best to run away, but there was nowhere to go.
"Fire!" I roared. In an instant, nearly 100 heavy iron hand crossbows let loose a devastating volley at once.
A relentless wall of arrows came crashing down, blotting out the very stars. Then came the screams, pure terror cutting through the night air.
Those poor souls on the raft turned into human pincushions in an instant. Just like that, the Wild Dog's captain was history.
One storm core acquired. Man, I love this part. It's not even a fight. It's just mowing the lawn. Total satisfaction.
I stood at the bow, wind whipping at my face, while I watched the kill feed light up my screen. Honestly, I couldn't help but grin like a total psycho.
Time for the next victim. Welcome to my fish pond, boys. Elena's slender fingers danced across the virtual map with chilling precision. "Silas, the next target is 15 nautical miles out," she said. "Level 4 raft, maybe 20 guys. Let's move, full speed." The Leviathan's sails caught the wind, and we were flying. After that last slaughter, my crew of 99 girls wasn't even breaking a sweat anymore.
Zoe, she was just chilling, gesturing with a shield twice her size, while Sophie kept watch. "Captain, target in sight!" she yelled from the observation tower.
Looks like they've got company. I pulled up my binoculars for a better look at the horizon.
Out on the dark water, 2 rafts were pulled up side by side, trying to stand their ground. They saw us coming on the map and decided to huddle up for warmth. Cute. They think that'll save them? Not a chance.
I unsheathed my longsword and looked over at Elena. "Hey, Professor, is your little armored legion feeling hungry?"
She just gave me a wicked little nod and a smile. I turned to the crew. Everyone, battle stations, right now. Today, we're showing them what happens when the Leviathan rolls through. We don't just win, we don't even leave a blade of grass standing. On the other side, Captain Blake was shaking like a leaf, but still trying to act tough. "Don't back down," he roared at his men. "We've got over 30 people. Get the hooks ready. The second they get close, we swarm them together." Famous last words. Swish, swish, swish. The shrieks of death literally tore the sky apart. 99 refined iron crossbows let loose at once, a black cloud of bolts raining down. "Get down!" Blake howled. Too little, too late. On a narrow raft like that, there's nowhere to run and absolutely nowhere to hide. The sickening thud of metal meeting meat echoed across the water. One volley, that's all it took to wipe out half their crew.
Slim, the skinny little coward in charge of the other raft, completely lost his mind and jumped overboard to escape.
Bad move. The second he hit the water, a nightmare of claws and shells surged up, dragging him straight into the black abyss. He didn't even leave a ripple on the surface, just gone.
Full sail! Ram them! I ordered coldly. Boom! Wood splintered and flew everywhere in a massive crash. Those level 4 rafts were basically crackers compared to the Leviathan. They shattered into pieces instantly.
The survivors fell right into the waiting mouths of Elena's sea beast army. Then the system notifications started rolling in.
Black Shark Captain, dead. 1 Storm Core. Skinny Monkey Captain, dead. Another Storm Core. Easy money.
That makes 4 Storm Cores in the back. I'm just 1 step away from the final goal.
I checked the kill leaderboard. First place, the Blood Wolf Alliance with 7 kills.
We're in second with 4. Perfect. Saves me the headache of hunting those Blood Wolf guys down one by one.
But then Elena's face went pale. She pointed at the map, her voice sharp and urgent.
Silas, something's wrong. The Blood Wolf Alliance, they're heading straight for us at full speed.
On the map, 7 or 8 dots shifted into a perfect arrowhead formation, aimed right at our throats.
The top dogs were coming to wipe out the Dark Horse. The deck went stone-cold silent as the reality hit.
Facing over 100 enemies, the girl started to waver. "What are you afraid of?" Zoe barked.
She slammed her massive tower shield down with a thunderous clang. "We'll swat 'em like flies." I spoke once, and the noise died instantly. I stared at the map, my eyes burning with excitement. Good. Elena, you got a plan for this?
Elena's SS-Rank Master Tactician talent kicked into overdrive. She leaned in and quickly whispered the play in my ear.
My eyes lit up. Oh, that is dirty. I love it. Listen up, everyone. Listen to my command.
I drew my epic Reaper Mantis Blade. Sophie, get that fog wall up. I want this ship invisible.
The bigger the better. Elena, get your Legion underwater. Bite their rudders off and leave them stranded.
Melee squad, defend the deck. As for me, I'll be right back.
10 minutes later, the Blood Wolf fleet had us boxed in.
Their leader, Fenrir, stood at his bow, looking at our ship and our girls with pure greed in his eyes. "Listen up," he barked. "Hand over the ship and half the women, and maybe I'll let you live."
A faint pop. That was all it took. 1 rainbow-colored bubble burst in the air, and then pure chaos.
Instantly, a wall of fog thicker than a winter coat swallowed everything. We're talking 0 visibility for hundreds of meters.
The Blood Wolf Alliance lost it. Screams and weird crunching noises echoed from the dark water. Something just ripped their rudders right off. They were basically blind flies at that point, smashing into each other in the thick mist with nowhere to go. Me? I'd already switched to spider form, creeping up the side of a level 3 raft like a literal ghost under the cover of the fog. 8 razor-sharp legs kept me locked onto the ship's stern. I was basically a predator waiting in the dark. Then, boom, weakness insight kicked in, painting a huge glowing target right on the panicked captain's head.
I launched myself like a cannonball. My mantis blade went straight through his back and out his chest. 0 hesitation.
Poor guy didn't even have time to scream. Just like that, he stopped breathing. Game over.
1 shot, 1 kill. I didn't stick around to chat, just vanished back into the fog before anyone even realized I was there. It wasn't a fight, it was a straight-up massacre. The comms were a nightmare. Number 3's down. Brad's been stabbed.
Hearing those final screams, it chilled Fenrir to the bone. His anger was gone, replaced by pure, unadulterated terror.
"Retreat! Get out of here!" he yelled, but honestly, too late. The fog cleared, leaving him all alone on his raft.
Every other ship was a graveyard. The crews, the captains, all of them were gone, buried under the waves. I stepped out of thin air, sword in hand, not even a single drop of blood on my clothes, clean as a whistle.
Ding! System notification. The Blood Moon Brawl is officially over.
Leviathan Captain Silas takes the top spot with 11 kills. The reward? 1 legendary treasure chest. Not bad.
A golden glow, and the chest appeared. Fenrir was on his knees begging for his life, but I just ended him with a quick slash.
Fenrir is down. That makes 5 storm cores for me now. Almost there.
I headed back to the Leviathan. On the deck, my 99 girls were looking at me like I was a literal god.
I scanned the crowd and spotted the Thunder Dragon girl, Chloe, in the corner. She looked incredibly tense, fists clenched tight.
Before we open this chest, we've got some business. Someone decided to ignore my orders during the fight.
I walked right up to her, step by step. You could have heard a pin drop on that deck.
Chloe's face went beet red instantly, but she tried to act tough. Wait, how did I disobey? She almost lost it during the battle, trying to transform and charge in. In a real fight, that's a massive taboo. Follow me, I said, heading for the captain's cabin. Again, you could feel the tension in the air.
She was embarrassed and angry, but she followed anyway. The door slammed shut. I didn't even bother with the lights.
Just moonlight spilling in through the porthole. I backed her up until she hit the cold wall. No escape now. I leaned in, trapping her with my hand against the wall right next to her face, pure Cabadan style.
She smelled like sweet vanilla, so close I could feel her heart racing. Do you know what you did wrong?
I whispered right in her ear. She went weak at the knees instantly, her voice barely louder than a mosquito. I shouldn't have charged in, she admitted. Good. Since you know your mistake, it's time for your punishment.
I tilted her head up, making her look me straight in the eyes. No hiding from this.
Your punishment? In the future, against boss-level enemies, you take the first shot.
She froze. Wait, what kind of punishment was that?
But I kept my voice serious. You must obey me. If I say retreat, you back off immediately, no exceptions. I need her to be my sharpest blade. Her eyes started to well up. She finally understood what I was saying. I was acknowledging her strength. I can do it, she choked out, nodding her head hard. Seeing her look so tough yet so vulnerable, I leaned down and gently kissed her smooth forehead.
Boom! Total system overload for Chloe. She just stood there, face redder than a steam engine.
That's a reward for being a good girl. Now, let's go open that chest. Back on deck, the campfire was roaring.
The legendary chest sat right in the center. Time for our secret weapon. Lily, you're up!
Lily blushed, shaking her rune bag until a beautiful rainbow light flooded the entire ship.
Legendary extreme luck. The kind of buff that makes destiny itself your best friend. Everything we want, we get.
This talent is just broken. I slapped my hand on the chest and opened it. A blinding golden light shot into the sky.
A glowing book made of pure water floated in the air. A skill book, Poseidon's Binding, absolutely legendary.
Syncing with the deep blue, I can manipulate any seawater within 100 meters, turning it into chains, massive hands, or shields for total control.
We're talking a legendary god-tier skill here, the kind of water power that changes the entire game.
In this marine survival world, it's basically a broken cheat code, and yeah, I learned it in a heartbeat. My mind went crystal clear, like I suddenly had a blood connection with the massive ocean beneath me. I just pointed my finger. Splash! A giant arm made of solid seawater violently erupts from the surface, swinging wildly and kicking up insane winds and waves. The crowd was floored. With this move in our arsenal, the Leviathan's defense was officially off the charts. I packed away the 5 storm cores and looked at Elena. Finally, the materials to upgrade the power core are all ready.
Everyone rest up. Tomorrow, we head back to Rainbow Island. The next day, the Leviathan was flying home at full throttle.
Last night, I traded 1,000 water bottles for 10,000 planks, mass-produced 99 iron axes, and handed them all out.
The moment we hit the shore, the squad didn't waste a single second.
Over 20 girls were swinging those axes like crazy, tearing through that rainbow-glazed wood in record time.
A mantis monster tried a sneak attack, but I dropped Poseidon's binding. 2 water chains, instant lockdown in midair.
Luna didn't hesitate. One smooth sword stroke and snap. It was decapitated. Pure poetry in motion.
By dusk, we had our 1,000 units of wood. Back on the ship, I pulled out the epic blueprint.
Tier 2 power core. Materials ready. Let's build. A mysterious purple light completely engulfed the center of the ship.
10 minutes later, a heavy roar shook the entire hull. A rune-covered core merged perfectly into our ship.
That basic wooden steering wheel, it transformed into a high-tech virtual control station right out of a sci-fi movie.
Active navigation unlocked. Top speed, 40 knots. No more waiting around for the wind. We move when we want.
I punched in the command. The turbine hissed and the Leviathan shot forward like a literal arrow from a bow.
I ripped the wheel around, and this 100-meter giant drifted across the waves in one perfect, massive arc. Everyone was cheering and celebrating our new power, but then the vibe died.
A freezing system alert popped up. Sea God's announcement. The second global tsunami hits at 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Here is the kicker. The intensity scales dynamically based on our ship's overall strength.
The deck went dead silent. Scaled strength? That meant the stronger we were, the more brutal the wave would be.
"What are you panicking for?" I shouted, my voice cutting through the fear like ice. Back in the Raft era, a tsunami was a nightmare. Now, we're a level 6 ship. This is just a buffet.
That snapped them out of it. Those monsters in the waves, they're just walking loot boxes waiting to be collected.
Elena stepped up with a plan. Zoe and Luna would handle the frontline melee defense.
Chloe provides air support with Dragon Flame, while Sophie locks the field down with her bubbles. The rest of the crew would rain down crossbow fire in shifts. My job? Control everything. 8:50 the next morning.
Everyone was geared up and standing in formation. The countdown hit 0. Rumble.
On the horizon, a 10-meter-high wall of black water came screaming toward us, covered in hungry, mutated sea monsters.
Steady! I threw my arms out wide. Poseidon's binding! The water around the Leviathan started boiling. Massive seawater barriers shot up, forming a perfect circular defense line.
Boom! The giant wave slammed into our wall. The entire ocean for 1,000 meters around us just shook.
Countless monsters were pulverized instantly, shredded by the force of the water wall and swept away.
A few monsters slipped through the net and crashed onto the deck. Open fire! Elena's voice rang out.
Swish! Swish! 90 crossbows unleashed a literal storm of metal.
A freakish octopus crab charged in, swinging 8 tentacles. I've got this! Zoe raised her shield to tank it.
A massive crash. She was pushed back, carving 2 deep trenches into the deck, but she held the line.
Luna moved like a ghost, circling behind it and sliding her blade into the gaps of its carapace.
Hit the nerve center at the base of the 3rd leg, I yelled, keeping my weakness in sight wide open.
Luna dropped low and drove her blade home. The beast let out one final scream before dying on the spot.
The second wave was even fiercer than the first.
A massive deep-sea lizard pounced, charging up a dark energy beam right at our formation. Big mistake, buddy.
Just like that, a massive hand of seawater erupted from the ocean, snatching that energy beam right out of the air. Pure steam everywhere.
Aim for the mouth. Chloe unleashed her dragon flames, Zoe hurled her spear, and a hail of bolts shredded the giant lizard's throat all at once.
The beast didn't stand a chance. It was forced back, step by agonizing step.
My turn. I vaulted high into the sky, my blade glowing as I charged up for the finishing blow.
My epic Reaper Scythe came down like a lightning bolt from the gods, dealing triple damage and splitting the lizard's head open. Elite first kill.
1 storm core secured. Finally, after an hour of absolute carnage, the tsunami began to pull back.
The Leviathan's deck was a literal bloodbath, piled high with monster guts. But the best part? 0 casualties for my crew. Not one. We actually survived. The system reward started rolling in. 2 golden lights dropped, and boom, another storm core in the bag. Plus an epic treasure chest. The deck absolutely erupted with cheers as the girls realized the nightmare was finally over.
No time to rest, though. The girls jumped straight into cleanup duty while the Carapace Legion started hauling the monster carcasses away.
I finished the ship repairs and clapped my hands to get everyone's attention. Great work today, but the real credit? It goes to our goddess of luck.
I looked over at Lily, tucked away in the corner, gently bandaging up a wounded teammate.
Suddenly, 100 eyes were on her. She turned bright red instantly. I walked over, reaching out to tuck a damp strand of hair behind her ear.
I let my fingers linger for a second, just grazing her warm earlobe.
"Open the epic chest," I told her, then leaned in close to whisper, "and come to my cabin tonight. I've got some special combat techniques to teach you, just for us." Lily's knees went weak, her mind probably a total blur of static.
Still blushing like crazy, she walked to the chest and said a quick prayer. Click! The lid swung open.
Jackpot! A basic eco-garden upgrade, Hello Farming, and the epic Siren's Ring, which boosts mental recovery by 30 points.
Low skill cost, and it can even store a water spell for instant casting. This is basically a god-tier item for any mage.
I equipped it immediately, feeling my mental energy surge back. Next, we started going through the loot orb scattered across the deck.
We hit the mother lode, stacks of wood, iron blocks, and more food than we could ever eat. We even found a blueprint for an arrow tower and a seed exchange card. Finally, some actual fresh vegetables on the menu.
Then Luna pulled a glowing white card from the mess, a talent awakening card. The entire ship went dead silent. Out of 99 girls, most were still just ordinary people. This card, this was a chance to literally rewrite their destiny.
I scanned the crowd and spotted Patty, a quiet girl who'd been working her heart out hauling those heavy corpses.
"Patty," I said, handing it over, "this is yours."
You worked the hardest out there, merit over everything. With tears in her eyes, she used it and awakened the gourmand talent on the spot.
She can spot toxins and cook like a pro now. Perfect support. With everyone leveled up, our team's power just hit a new peak.
Night fell, dark as ink. Then came a soft, nervous knock at my cabin door.
It was Lily. She was clutching the hem of her school uniform, looking like a little lamb heading straight into the lion's den.
Captain, you wanted to see me? I set down the sword I was cleaning, walked up to her, and took her small, freezing hands in mine. "Why are you so cold?" I asked softly. I led her to the massive floor-to-ceiling window, wrapping my arms around her waist from behind. She could definitely feel my heart racing through her clothes. "You're my lucky charm, Lily. Honestly, we wouldn't be standing here without you."
I lowered my head, my breath warm against her ear. "You deserve a real reward." I turned her around and pulled her into a kiss.
Her initial nerves just melted. She completely sank into my arms, becoming like soft water in my embrace.
Half an hour later, I was helping her with her shoes. Wait, what about the thigh-high socks? Do those stay on?
"Leave 'em," I whispered. "I've got a plan for those." It was going to be a very, very long night. Next morning, sunlight hit the bed. I teased the tip of Lily's nose, watching her shyly hide under the covers. Suddenly, that familiar mechanical voice boomed in my head. Ding! Second offspring successfully gestated. Extremely high bloodline potential. Plus, I just earned my third infinite conversion opportunity. Now we're talking.
I sat up, heart pounding with pure excitement. I got dressed and headed out of the captain's cabin to find my strategist. I called Elena over and filled her in on the conversion options. What's the play here, Elena? What do we pick?
Elena's double S-rank brain started whirring at 1,000 miles an hour. She tapped the C chart. Go with the storm cores.
They're the ultimate bottleneck for high-tier crafting. You can't buy these. They're literally priceless. Infinite cores? That's a dimensional strike right there. Great minds really do think alike. I focused my mind, target acquired, converting to storm core.
Loading the historical cores now, and boom, it's done. I took a deep breath, reached for that legendary blueprint at the bottom of my stash, and slammed it onto the table. Time to build the complete Leviathan set. Let's go.
The entire ship erupted in a purple glow, brighter than anything we'd ever seen. In that light, the hull started stretching and widening like it was alive.
Out with the old wood, in with the new. Every inch was replaced by indestructible dark gold armor. Now that's what I'm talking about.
Suddenly, 30 heavy cannons sprouted from the sides, 3 auto towers popped up, and the bow grew a terrifying bone-kill ram.
10 minutes later, this 150-meter-long beast hit the water, an epic rank maritime fortress ready for war.
Ultimate Leviathan. Construction complete. Durability is at 20,000, armor at 50, and that ramming power, a solid 100.
Cheers loud enough to shake the sky broke out on deck. With a ship like this, we own these waters.
But then Elena pointed to the garden module on the console. The ship's great, sure, but we're still missing the soil of life to grow any real food.
Her finger landed hard on a new set of coordinates on the sea map. Our next target.
I kicked open the cabin door, grabbed the broadcast mic, and took a breath.
My voice boomed through every corner of the ship. Listen up, everyone. Next up, we're heading straight for the normal sea area.
The Tier 2 power core kicked into high gear, and our steel Leviathan carved a perfect white trail across the ocean's surface. At this point, it didn't even feel like survival anymore. It was basically a top-tier luxury cruise. Out on the deck, the girls finally let loose, ditching their heavy leather gear for light camisoles and shorts. Total summer vibes.
The energy of youth mixed perfectly with the salt and the sea breeze hitting our faces.
Zoe was using her Hercules talent to haul giant fish out of the water, while Sophie used magic bubbles to fly kites. Seriously, kites!
Chloe was just chilling with her dragon baby, acting like the fish were beneath her. I was checking some blueprints when I heard a knock.
Lucy walked in, looking a little shy, leading a group of girls who were looking, well, pretty pale.
Captain, that thing is here. Aunt Flo has arrived. It hit me then. 2 weeks of survival, and the girls' cycles had finally caught up. Back in the beginning, things were too intense to even notice. Our nerves were shredded, and we had bigger problems. But now that life was easy, reality came knocking, and there were 99 girls on this ship.
No pads, no tampons, nothing. This was a straight-up disaster. I dived into the trading market immediately.
These things had become total luxury items. 1 pack of pads was going for 10 bottles of water. People were losing it. The world chat was full of people cursing the scalpers. Just a bunch of guys begging to buy supplies at insane prices for their girlfriends.
I just sneered. Sky-high prices, please. To me, that's just pocket change.
I tracked down the sellers with the most stock and sent a direct message. I'm buying everything you've got, now.
When they saw the thousands of water bottles I offered, they started spamming question marks. They thought I was insane. I didn't have time for talk, just click trade.
I swept the entire market clean. When I finally dropped those massive boxes of new supplies onto the deck,
they were piled up like a small mountain. All 99 girls just stood there, completely speechless.
Then Lucy screamed and tackled me in a massive bear hug. The others crowded around with tears in their eyes, shouting, "Long live the captain!"
A few thousand bottles of infinite water in exchange for the undying loyalty of my entire crew? That's a massive win in my book.
By the evening of the 4th day, our position on the chart finally hit the edge of the normal sea area.
But the second we crossed that line, the vibe felt wrong. No storms, no weird winds. Everything was just ordinary. And that's what made my skin crawl. Elena immediately cranked the radar to max. The screen pinged. 30 miles ahead, there was a massive island practically radiating life energy. That had to be it, the soil of life. Full speed ahead.
We got within 5 miles when the alarm started screaming. Silas, every piece of equipment just died.
We hit some kind of unknown energy interference. The screen turned to static, and the data was just a string of question marks.
I triggered weakness insight, and the info I got was even crazier. Dream garden, status slumbering. A prompt popped up. Please do not disturb the elegant, sweet dreams. This wasn't just an island. It was a monster's lair. Level 1 alert. Everyone, lock and load those crossbows. The ship drifted into a dead silence. Then, an ethereal female voice echoed directly inside all of our heads.
Outsiders, thank you for wandering into my dream.
Every single girl went pale. This was not good. I barked out orders to keep the crew steady, rounding up Zoe, Luna, and Chloe to get moving. Tucked safely inside Sophie's 7-colored bubble, we took the landing raft and ghosted onto the island. The second my feet hit that warm, soft soil, I could practically feel the life energy vibrating through the air. It was wild. The trees and vines actually moved on their own, parting like a curtain to lead us straight to the island's heart. Then we saw it, a crystal-clear lake with a massive glowing flower of light blooming right in the center.
And there, resting quietly on the stamen, was the most breathtaking woman I'd ever laid eyes on.
Her green hair flowed all the way down to her waist, and her skin was white as fresh snow. She wore a long dress woven from vines that hugged every single curve perfectly.
This majestic life force wasn't just coming from the island. It was coming from her. She was the island. Suddenly, system prompts started exploding in my vision.
Legendary life form detected. The slumbering flower goddess, Flora.
To wake her up, I had to use the Dynasty system for a life essence fusion to repair her broken soul and get her pregnant. Only then could we sign the master-servant contract.
I just stared at the screen, totally floored. The system wasn't asking me to help her out of the goodness of my heart. It was straight up eyeing my body.
But look, this was a legendary tier employee. If I secured her, the dream of having my entire crew of 100 people eating epic rank veggies every day would actually become a reality.
I turned back to the three girls, trying to look as serious as possible.
I started talking nonsense with a total straight face, not even tripping over my words. Listen, the energy of this island master is totally unbalanced, I told them.
She needs me to use my Titan's body to give her some deep tissue physical therapy. Spread out, stand guard, and whatever you do, absolutely no peeking.
They looked at me like they only half believed it, but they scattered anyway. I took a deep breath and stepped onto that crystal path.
As I reached the center, the light flower slowly began to close, sealing us away in our own private space.
Standing there with a literal deity within arm's reach, I didn't hold back and ditched my armor immediately. 4 hours later, the bud finally burst back into bloom.
A massive sound, like a soul-deep explosion, rocked the area. A visible shockwave of pure life force surged across every inch of the island.
It was insane. Everything living started growing at light speed, blooming and withering in a crazy, beautiful cycle.
Right after that, a thick pillar of emerald light shot straight out of the lake and into the clouds.
It tore through the sky, dyeing the entire sea area a bright emerald green. The World Channel? Oh, it went absolutely nuclear.
A server-wide announcement flashed. A legendary secret treasure had appeared. Every pirate ship for miles started hauling tail toward the light like a pack of mad dogs.
But back at the lake, that massive pillar of light reversed, flowing right back into Flora's body.
She slowly opened her eyes, pure emerald green, and looked right at me. Success! The slumbering flower goddess was finally awake. Contract signed. Our third offspring was officially in the works, and the bloodline potential, pure legendary.
I even scored my 4th infinite conversion chance, but before I could even celebrate, Luna's scream cut through the air.
Silas, there are ships everywhere! The Leviathan is surrounded! I turned my gaze toward the sea, my eyes turning cold.
I looked at the newly awakened Flora and sent a thought through our contract. Can you fight? She just tilted her head curiously.
She slowly raised her hand, fair and smooth as white jade, and gently clenched her fist toward the sky. Rumble. The entire world started to shake.
Dozens of massive spiked vines, as thick as water barrels, erupted from the depths of the sea. Then blood-red man-eating lotuses, 10 meters wide, bloomed out of thin air all over the surface of the water. Those Iron Fist pirates thought they were about to score some easy loot and women. Instead, they ran headfirst into divine punishment.
The giant vines punched straight through the hulls of their ships, pinning them to the seabed like insects.
The blood lotuses started pulling with a terrifying suction force, grinding ships and pirates alike into a red mist. It was total annihilation, like a hot knife through butter.
It wasn't even a fight, it was a slaughter. Zoe and the others just stood on the shore, completely speechless. Wiping out entire fleets with just a wave of her hand. This is what God-tier power looks like. Flora walked barefoot over to me and gave a slight bow.
Flora greets Master, she said softly. Then she touched her flat stomach and asked with this dorky cute expression, Master, when will I be able to bear fruit for you?
I nearly choked on my own spit right then and there.
Chloe's jaw dropped, and her defenses crumbled instantly. She shot me a look like she wanted to take 2 big bites out of me. I let out a quick cough to try and cover the awkwardness. Look, this biological ritual is complicated. No rush, I said. More importantly, tell me, where's the soil of life? Flora just pointed at the ground beneath her feet like it was the most obvious thing in the world. The entire island? Holy hell, we just struck it rich.
I immediately pulled out my seed card, swapped it for potato seeds, and handed them over to her.
Flora just casually scattered them, a green ripple of light flowing from her palm. 10 seconds. That's all it took. 10 seconds. Those shriveled seeds tore through the soil, bloomed, and bore fruit instantly.
Huge golden potatoes bigger than human heads literally hopped out of the ground, piling up into a small mountain.
I was looking at an epic rank golden holy crest potato. Unbelievable.
One bite and boom, permanent buffs to your constitution and spirit. Even eating potatoes in this world gives you stats.
I grabbed the walkie-talkie, hyped as hell. Team, gear up, we're landing to dig dirt. But Flora, she wasn't feeling it.
She just strolled to the water's edge and reached out her hand, basically vacuuming the island with her palm.
Total insanity. The island's life essence turned into a billion glowing fireflies, swirling into her hand, while the soil became gravel. Boom! The whole island just collapsed and sank. And Flora, she's holding a tiny bonsai, the entire house packed and ready. Back on deck, Chloe was fuming. Pure jealousy. She crossed her arms, giving Flora the coldest side-eye and a massive snort.
But Flora thought it was a game. She copied her perfectly, arms crossed, head turned, totally mocking Chloe's attitude.
She snorted so hard she nearly snapped her neck. Then she mimicked Chloe's tantrum stomp, nearly put a hole through the steel deck.
The whole crew was dying of laughter, while poor Chloe was about to explode with rage. Eventually, night fell.
A soft knock at the door. It was Elena, stepping into the captain's cabin.
She was stunning. Silky nightgown, sheer black stockings showing off those long legs. She brought coffee and started massaging my temples.
The fourth infinite conversion, she whispered. Any plans for it? I just reached back and pulled her closer, playing with her hand.
Elena sat right across from me, crossing those legs elegantly. That sound of black silk rustling, let's just say it was distracting.
Honestly, right now, we've got everything we need.
She analyzed it perfectly. Saved the trump card for a rule-breaking item. Typical move for a double S-rank tactical master.
I stood up, leaning over her chair and trapping her right there in my arms.
I couldn't help but look. Professor, it's late. You wouldn't want those precious stockings ruined by seawater, would you?
Elena's face went bright red. She gave me a little shove, looking all shy and reproachful.
You're twisting logic, she teased. I just leaned in. Captain's orders. This tactical meeting, it isn't over yet.
Time to discuss your duties as the captain's wife. Click. Lights out. That fourth conversion could wait.
The treasure right in front of me was way more tempting. But the next morning, total chaos on the deck.
Claire was holding fancy lace lingerie, chasing Flora, who's still just wearing vines. "Forget it! It's too tight!" Flora shouted.
Flora protected her assets, looking genuinely upset. They need to breathe, she complained. They hate being caged up.
They don't like being locked in a cage. I nearly coughed up a lung. Like, girl, have some mercy.
I laid down the law. T-shirt and shorts, now. Finally, I suppressed the wild spring scenery all over the ship. Over at the main stove, Patty was boiling those epic potatoes. The pot was literally glowing. That smell, absolutely heavenly. I gave the word, and all 99 girls charged. It was like a pack of hungry wolves at a feast.
One bite, and dang, my stats jumped by 0.5. I was loving it until I realized the vibe was wrong.
That epic energy was way too much. It was pure raw power, and the girls' bodies just couldn't handle it.
Everyone started burning up. Fever City. Sophie's face was beet red, and she was absolutely drenched in sweat. Lily was dazed, tugging at her collar. Chloe just ditched her jacket entirely, standing there in a tank top, skin flushing pink.
Even Elena was struggling. Her silk stockings were soaked, clinging to her legs in a way that, well, was definitely thrilling.
The whole deck basically turned into a massive, high-pressure sauna.
Fragrant sweat, hormones, and a literal ocean of skin. My eyes were practically burning. "Nobody move," I yelled. "Sit down and focus on the energy." I was fighting my own urges here. If you're roasting, ditch the jackets. Just cool down.
Scientific heat dissipation. The girls didn't need to be twice. Clothes were flying everywhere. Total chaos.
Then Flora leans in, trying to help me. "Master, you need to dissipate heat too." I grabbed her hand so fast.
Any more dissipation and this ship would have capsized. An hour later, finally, the collective evolution was done.
Everyone's stats hit double digits. Zoe was so hyped she started doing backflips, cracking her knuckles, and talking tough.
But here's the scary part. After the evolution, these girls all became way bolder, one by one.
They swarmed me, reaching for my abs with hungry eyes.
I felt like a quarterback cornered by 30 thirsty cheerleaders.
I was caught between laughing and running for my life. I was busy swatting away wandering hands when a scream cut through the noise. Sophie in the tower yelled, "Captain, look ahead!"
It looks like a body. My stomach dropped. I reached for my binoculars, heart racing to see what happened.
Then, buzz! This massive, ancient hum vibrated through my soul, and the entire sky turned a blinding, pure gold.
A massive golden curtain of light dropped from the sky, swallowing the entire ocean in an instant.
It wasn't a ghost, just the reflection of this insane announcement. Huge, glowing characters filled the horizon, line by line.
Attention! Global announcement!
The beginner protection period is over. Mission, survival, and crew leaderboards are now live. The deck went dead silent.
The girls were totally stunned. I checked the screen. On the crew rankings, the Leviathan was actually #1.
Honestly, that was mostly thanks to Flora, the legendary flower goddess we just brought on board. But let's be real, she's a support class gardener. In a real brawl, that rank was definitely a bit inflated.
The crews in 2nd and 3rd had recruited local epic-level powerhouses. Now that is some serious combat strength.
I flipped to the survival leaderboard, and my stomach dropped. First place, a level 8 war fortress.
Second was a level 7 ghost ship. Our newly upgraded Leviathan was stuck way down at 5th.
Are you kidding me? We have infinite materials. Why are we only 5th? Chloe shouted, stomping her foot.
The confidence we just built was completely wrecked by those numbers. "Quiet," I barked, shutting them up instantly.
Look at 5th place. It only shows one thing. We are just not strong enough yet.
So, do you want to hide here and wait for death, or make the Leviathan the true king?
Zoe was the first to react, pumping her fist. To hell with them. Let's feed them to the fishes.
Morale spiked instantly. Elena just pushed up her glasses, her mind already deep into the data. To hit level 7, we need rare materials you can't buy. We have to find them on the mission boards.
I scanned the list until my eyes locked onto an epic-level nightmare of a mission.
Purify the Banshee's lair. The prize? 10,000 units of rare materials, exactly what we need for the upgrade.
But it's a public mission. 8 crews can take it, but only 1 walks away with the prize.
Elena, set the course. Destination, the Banshee's lair. Night fell as the Leviathan charged through the waves. The girls were all on edge, prepping for battle. This was the real deal, an epic tier scenario.
I was staring at the charts alone when Elena walked in, carrying a fresh cup of hot coffee.
She'd swapped into a cozy off-white sweater, but she still had those signature black silk stockings on. She stood behind me, gently massaging my temples while breaking down the stats of the other top-tier ships.
I leaned back, enjoying the moment. Then my eyes drifted down to her legs.
Professor, you've got a tear in your stockings. She froze, looking down at a tiny rip showing snow-white skin.
Her face turned bright red in an instant. Swish. She tried to hide it, but I reached out, my fingers brushing the tear, before I suddenly pulled hard. Rip! The tear split wide open. Elena shuddered, letting out a soft moan as she sank into the chair. A master tactician like you, and you didn't even account for your own equipment failing?
I grabbed a fresh pair of premium black silks from the cabinet and pressed them into her hand.
Put these on. Tomorrow's battle needs you at 100% focus. Clutching the stockings, she practically bolted out of the cabin. 3 hours later, there was another knock. This time it was Lily. She was wearing nothing but my oversized white shirt, barefoot and trembling.
She looked like a frightened rabbit. "Captain, that mission, my runes won't stop sounding the alarm."
She's our spiritual expert. Her intuition is way more reliable than any radar we have on this ship. I pulled her close, warming her hands in mine. What's there to fear? I'll handle the sky falling.
A wicked grin spread across my face.
To make sure you don't freeze up tomorrow, let's do a little constitution training tonight. I'll guide your energy.
It was a pretty weak excuse, but Lily just closed her eyes. That lesson went deep.
From theory to practice, we didn't stop until the very middle of the night. Lily fell asleep in my arms, totally exhausted. Then the golden system notification started going wild. Crew member Lily's potential awakened. Her runes now have a tiny chance to trigger a divine oracle. Holy hell! This mutual training was a massive win. Early tomorrow, we're opening that blind box. Pushed to her limit, the little girl gripped her rune bag, face flushed bright red as she gave it a violent shake.
Suddenly, golden light exploded everywhere.
The divine oracle Athena has spoken. A 50-meter absolute sanctuary is now active, holding strong for 30 whole minutes.
Total invincibility. Every hostile attack completely useless. Plus, it restores friendly health by 5%. This is a literal cheat code, guys.
With this in our hands, we're golden. As the first light of dawn broke, the Leviathan finally reached the Trench of Sorrows.
The water was eerily still, like a graveyard. The thick stench of blood mixed with these faint bone-chilling screams that crawled right into your skull.
Cutting through the fog, 7 other massive behemoth ships were already there, lurking in their positions.
You had the spiked Tyrannosaurus, that creepy pitch-black cobra, and the Templar ship covered in crosses. All of them top-tier killers on the leaderboards.
Over the temporary comms, everyone agreed on a meeting point, a shattered wooden platform floating right in the middle of the trench.
I made my move, bringing Zoe and Luna along. Over 20 people were waiting, and every single one of them was radiating a pure murderous aura.
This 2-meter-tall giant named Rex, clutching a blood-stained axe, saw me show up with just 2 girls and started mocking us.
"Look at the captain of the Leviathan," he laughed, "bringing 2 little chicks to a playhouse. Give me a break."
Zoe didn't say a word. She just slammed her massive Spartan tower shield into the wood. Boom! The entire platform nearly flipped over.
Luna's hand drifted to her hilt, her killing intent locking onto him like a predator. I ignored the drama queens and focused on the center of the platform.
There it was, a massive whirlpool, 1,000 meters wide, swirling straight down into the abyss.
These old foxes started trading fake smiles and hypocritical greetings before finally settling on a plan.
The 8 ships would anchor down, and each team would send 10 people diving into the deep, using ropes to watch each other's backs. It was a total chain trap. If things went south, anyone looking to survive would have to cut the other's ropes to escape.
I didn't even bother calling them out. I just nodded. Time to head in. Darkness. Thick, suffocating darkness.
As we descended, a stat-suppressing aura started draining our stamina like crazy. Sophie's face went pale. She was struggling.
I forced my way through, relying on my 80 constitution Titan body, pushing all the way down to the 50-meter mark. Suddenly, the Cobra's cable on our right went wild like a possessed python, whipping toward us with a terrifying gust of wind.
They were trying to knock us into the void. Looking for death, Zoe roared, her Hercules talent kicking into 5 times power.
She clamped her legs onto our cable and swung that tower shield head-on. Clang! A muffled bell-like ring echoed through the deep sea.
Zoe took that deadly hit like a literal wall. She didn't retreat a single inch.
Out of the shadows came Viper's voice, the Cobra's captain, dripping with sarcasm. "Oops, my hand slipped. Didn't grab tight enough."
"Don't mind me," he sneered. My eyes turned ice cold. "Luna, give them a return gift." The air warped, and Luna vanished into stealth mode instantly.
2 seconds, that's all it took. Then, ah! A blood-curdling scream erupted from the Cobra's cable. The pirate guarding their rear had a fountain of blood spray from his wrist as his entire hand fell away, vanishing into the abyss.
Luna reappeared right by my side, her blade completely spotless, not a single drop of blood. The entire area went dead silent. These old veterans finally got the message. The girls from the Leviathan were beautiful, but they were poisonous roses with sharp thorns.
We finally hit the bottom, an underwater Gothic cave filled with jagged stone. In the center sat a ruined altar, surrounded by dozens of floating, ghostly figures.
Shadows of wailing. These things have 50% physical immunity and hit you with pure mental pollution.
Rex, always the hothead, swung his blood axe and charged in. Die! He landed a massive bone-crushing strike, but the shadow just flickered like smoke.
It fired back a mental shockwave that sent Rex stumbling backward, his head spinning.
He was moving like an old man, totally sluggish. Physical attacks? Useless. I just sneered. "Chloe, your turn."
Chloe snapped her fingers, and her little baby dragon flapped its wings, rising into the air. Roar!
A torrent of scorching dragon breath mixed with golden lightning swept through the ghosts like a high-energy laser. Physical immunity? Good luck against true magic damage.
The moment the fire and lightning touched them, those shadows didn't even have time to scream before they evaporated into nothingness. The flash lit up the whole cave.
Rex's eyes looked like they were about to pop out of his skull.
The other captains looked at my team, and their expressions shifted instantly, from shock to pure, ugly greed.
We cleared the mobs without breaking a sweat or even messing up our hair. Suddenly, glowing blue Latin text appeared on the altar.
My weakness insight kicked in, translating it instantly. Sacrifice 8 unyielding souls to awaken the master. My heart skipped a beat.
There were exactly 8 captains standing right here. This wasn't a mission, it was a mutual death trap. Before I could even shout a warning, a sickening thud broke the silence. Old George, the most honest captain there, looked down in a daze. A blood-stained cross-sword was sticking out of his chest. Father Alex stood behind him, smiling like a holy fanatic as he slowly pulled the blade out.
May the Lord grant you peace, but honestly, this altar still needs its first sacrifice.
Dust to dust, man. George's crew got wiped out in a heartbeat, and the whole vibe of the room just snapped.
Father Alex didn't even blink. He just casually wiped his blood-stained blade with a white handkerchief.
Listen up, only the survivors get to share the prize. Consider this the will of God himself.
Suddenly, 9 fanatical knights stepped forward, glowing with holy light. This holy guy was turning the place into a deadly hunting game.
Rex let out a roar, while Viper slinked back into the shadows. Turns out, the father's twisted logic actually worked.
Survival of the fittest, right? The alliance shattered instantly. I grabbed the girls and backed us into a dead corner.
Zoe braced her shield, Luna vanished into thin air, and our little dragon held the line.
As long as we stayed put, they didn't dare move. Then, boom, complete chaos. Screams and skills were flying everywhere.
Alex was dancing circles around Rex with some bizarre swordplay. The poor guy was getting carved up, blood everywhere. Viper was playing dirty, hunting only the weak. Just like that, the 4th captain was down for the count.
The runes on the altar started glowing red hot. The stone casing peeled away, revealing a core of literal coagulated blood.
At the very top of the altar, a thick cloud of black mist started swirling like crazy. A faceless woman with wild, dancing hair emerged. A Banshee, epic rank, and she was evolving to legendary status. That mental pressure was unreal. My hair literally stood to end. Someone yelled to stop fighting, but it was useless.
Too late. Whoosh! The Banshee let out a soul-piercing shriek that shook the entire cave.
Rex took it head on, blood everywhere, eyes glazing over. Even Alex and Viper were forced back, groaning in pure pain.
On our end, Zoe slammed her shield down to tank the physical shockwave,
while Sophie's pink bubble expanded, forcefully shielding our minds from that brutal mental attack.
The rest of the fodder, foaming at the mouth and turning into idiots. Then the Banshee pointed a finger at a dying Rex.
A massive vacuum force erupted. Rex was sucked dry into a husk as his golden soul was ripped right out.
She swallowed it whole and grew even larger. And just like that, the 5th captain was gone.
This wasn't a quest to clear the level. It was a buffet. They were using lives to feed a monster.
The faceless horror turned her head, locking on to the next snack with the most life force, Father Alex. His holy act was gone. Alex looked fierce, almost demonic. Hellspawn, I'll exorcise you in the Lord's name!
His muscles bulked up to 3 meters tall, exploding with blinding golden light. S-rank talent, Paladin's golden armor.
Okay, I'll give it to him. The Holy Roller actually had a serious trump card in his sleeve.
The Banshee lashed out with a shadow whip. Clang! Alex crossed his arms, taking that devastating hit like a tank.
The rock shattered under his feet, and he was shoved back, carving 2 deep trenches into the stone floor.
But he held his ground. Even with all that arrogant talk, his energy bar just tanked by 20%. He looked my way, desperate. Leviathan, don't just stand there. Have that dragon of yours breathe some fire.
He stomped the ground, launching his massive golden body toward the Banshee like a rocket.
But mid-air, he pulled a fast one. He pivoted toward us, trying to dump the disaster on our heads.
He was literally courting death. Zoe slammed her tower shield down, while Luna gripped her daggers in a reverse hold.
Me? I didn't even blink. Suddenly, the Banshee's form expanded violently.
She gathered every ounce of power and unleashed a scream 10 times worse than before. Echo of Despair, full screen AoE.
A visible black shockwave erupted like a nuke. Alex took the full hit, like getting smashed by a runaway truck.
His 3-meter golden aura flickered wildly for a second. Then it just went out. Total darkness.
With a sickening bang, he exploded into light motes. Alex hit the ground, bleeding and twitching. Game over for him.
As for Viper, who was trying to play it safe and hide in the shadows,
He was rolling on the floor, screaming and clutching his head until his brain basically turned to mush.
Now the entire cave was silent, except for us. The Banshee slowly turned around, her terrifying aura locking onto the Leviathan squad. It was finally our turn to dance.